Solutions to the Dropout Crisis. Addressing the dropout crisis one strategy at a time. Brought to you by the National Dropout Prevention Center with support from Penn Foster and Catapult Learning and in partnership with Clemson Broadcast Productions. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to 2016. Happy New Year. We are celebrating here at the National Dropout Prevention Center because we have some very special people with us today. I can't wait to introduce the first one in a minute. But this has been a terrific year, the last year with Solutions, and this year is going to be even better. Just you wait. So the first special goodie is my co-host today, and I would like to introduce Dr. Erman Hervey, who I have known. I bet you, Erman, I've known you since the last century, even maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
okay.
true.
We go back. We go back for you youngins out there. But Dr. Hervey was the chair of the National Dropout Prevention Network Board for many years, and a board member for, we all lost count.
Yeah, it was a lot of years, at least 10.
Yeah, but we're just really happy you're here.
Yeah.
Now, Erman is the vice president for Catapult Learning. Now, many of you don't realize we have sponsors. I hope you do, because we have two wonderful sponsors, and that is Penn Foster and Catapult Learning.
Yeah.
So this is terrific. Erman happened to be in town.
Yes.
And so he said, I want to come over and see what goes on with Solutions. And I said, well, perfect timing, because today's the day.
Yeah.
So here he is. Welcome.
Hi, Marty. Hello, guests.
Yeah, and we'll be introducing our guests in just a minute. Yeah. Now, Erman has stopped by the National Dropout Prevention Center to pay them a visit while he was in town. And Erman, I think you found out about some events that are coming up in this wonderful 2016
Absolutely.
That we were talking about. Tell us what you found out.
I did, Marty. I found out that there are going to be two great national forums. One is in February at Myrtle Beach, and it's the At-Risk Youth Forum, and that's February 14th through the 17th. And the other one is in Oklahoma City, and it focuses on Native students and tribal communities. So that's really important, and we are really happy to be hosting that one. And that one takes place March 6th through the 9th.
Okay.
And then we actually have another conference, and that's going to be in Orlando, Florida, and it's entitled Reaching the Wounded Student, and that's going to be June 26th through the 29th. So there's a lot on the radar screen.
There's a lot on the radar screen, and that's not even to mention what's coming in the second half of the year, which is, we will allude to the national conference, which is the biggie.
In Detroit,
it's
Michigan.
It's coming to Detroit, and when is that one?
That is October the 2nd through the 5th.
Right, yeah, so lots always happening. I always love to talk to the center staff, but boy, today is really special to have you here. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be fun.
Thank you for asking.
You know, we have a very important topic, and we want to engage our listeners in the topic, and so you and I have confessed that we aren't tweeters or twitters or whatever.
Yeah,
but we can pass the word on to those who do tweet.
Exactly.
And the center is right up there with it. So people who want to have a conversation on the topic of today can go to this @NDPCN Twitter place, and then the hashtag is the conversation. I've learned that much.
Right.
And so one could be hashtag Charlotte, because our guests are from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
And one could be hashtag graduation rates. And I think I see a third one here, hashtag NDPCN. So those are all up on the screen. They'll be up on the website in case you forgot them. And you can join the conversation. And you know, the one we can do, Erman.
Which one is that?
Is at the discussion board. Have you done a discussion board?
I
It's kind of like,
I have.
you know, like if you're on Facebook, you type in. Well, this is a discussion board about the topic, and other people weigh in, and it's much easier for people like you and me.
Exactly.
We can do it.
Exactly. Old school people.
Old school people, we can do that. But even it's high tech, though.
Okay.
That is high tech. So we have that for everybody to converse about. But you know, the topic, I keep mentioning there's a topic. There's a lot of resources to support this topic on the website. But what is the topic? And it's so important. It's dropout prevention in big city schools.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I don't know, but I know that our guests today are going to be able to tell us that. And our guests have led in the Charlotte Charlotte Mecklenburg schools.
That's correct.
Awesome, right. A graduation success initiative, and they're going to talk to us about that today. And today we have Cheryl Robinson, who's in her 11th year at Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and she leads the guidance department at the district level.
School counseling, yes.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. And Carol Alexander, who's a counselor and has been with the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools for 34 years. And that's awesome in and of itself. And one of the things I'm just really happy about, Marty, is that they both represent the counseling function. And a lot of times, you know, we don't hear a lot about counselors. They're dealing with the ratio of 500 students to 1, and they're buried in work. And I am just really heartened to learn how counselors can play a role in helping districts to increase graduation rates. So I really applaud your work, and I'm really excited to hear about what you're going to be talking about.
Yeah. So Cheryl's going to take the ball and start to run with it. And I told Urban, you are so lucky. We have a front row seat at this workshop. So audience out there, we are going to try to, represent you with our questions, because we have some, but we know you will as well, because this is big. I mean, big school districts have lots of challenges. So Cheryl, help us with how you've been managing that in Charlotte.
Okay, well, we're happy to do that. I want to say first and foremost that Carol and I are delighted to be here. We certainly applaud the work, any work that's being done to ensure that our students' succeed nationwide. So we are just delighted to be here. What we're going to talk about today is something called the Graduation Success Initiative that you mentioned, that CMS has found to be pretty impactful as an initiative that we've implemented. But before we get into that, what I really would like to do is just give you a brief overview of our school district so that you can appreciate just how big it is.
Okay.
We have approximately 145,000 students.
Wow.
168 schools. 31 of them are high schools, 31 high schools. 158 different countries are represented in our school district. So we have students who come from all over the world.
So many languages.
Wow.
So many languages. That is a native language. In fact, over 175 languages.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, 175.
Wow.
And so we're a large urban school district. In fact, we're the second largest in the state. And we take great pride. I certainly want to applaud our school district, because I think we are committed to making sure that our students succeed and receive the type of education that will prepare them for the 21st century.
Right.
We do have magnet programs in 38 of our schools, so whether a student is interested in an IB diploma, whether there's an interest in the fine or performing arts, engineering, technology, whatever, we offer specialized programs that support that interest. So we're really proud of that and the education that we offer.
As you should be. I feel like I appreciate the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools even more.
Well, in addition to that, the Charlotte Mecklenburg School District is a very diverse district. And we really represent a microcosm of our community. Our African American students represent 42% of our population. The white students represent 32%. We have approximately 18% of our students who are Hispanic. Asian students at about 5%, and Indian or multiracial students represent about 3% of our student population. So it's a very diverse student population.
That's compelling. That's compelling. We have a majority minority population, which actually is in alignment with the demographic shifts.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And so when we talk about CMS and the fact that it is so large, we face some tough challenges. And I don't think those challenges are unique, though. I think every large urban district faces those challenges when it comes to ensuring that our students graduate, ensuring that they stay in school, and that type of thing. So some of the challenges I think that I'd like to highlight today is just something that I think small schools probably can take for granted, that they're able to identify every student who is a potential graduate for that year. We're not in that position.
Probably knows them by name and their
knows
mother's
them
name.
by name. Can call mom.
Right.
Why are they in school today?
Yeah.
We don't have that luxury because of the sheer size of our school. So just the identification
That's huge.
is a huge challenge. And so what we find ourselves doing is when we get information from the state and they identify who they think is attending our school district, then we look at that list, schools look at that list and they look at it and I've not seen this person, or this person hasn't been there this year, or I'm not sure where this person is. That starts the process of us trying to find out where those students are. It's a huge endeavor, and it's a district-wide endeavor that everybody is involved in. So the first step is identifying everyone who is a potential graduate. Further challenged by the fact that our population is so highly transient. We have students who come from all over the world, as we have said. We have students that come in and out of our district daily, daily. And not just coming in and out of the district, but just transfer from school to school within CMS. So that's another huge challenge. What we've had too in place, I'm happy to say that now that GSI is here, I think we've helped with that. But it was just an inconsistency in procedures. And not just, you would think that one school may do things one way and another school, and that did happen. We also found that there were inconsistencies within a school, that a counselor may have their own system of doing something. The counselor next door had a different system. And so there were a lot of inconsistencies in implementing procedures, which made it very challenging. And then I think another huge challenge and obstacle was just the variance in interpretation of information. And I'm speaking primarily of interpretation of records that came in for our transfer students. So if a student came in from Mexico or Ghana
China,
or wherever, then the counselor is charged with, of course, making sure they interpret that information correctly and schedule the student appropriately. Well, we found that there was great variance in that. The counselors would look at the same record but interpret it differently. So we found out that there were some things that we needed to address with regard to the specific challenges we faced as a large district.
It begs the question, how did you kind of unify the processes? But I'm sure you're going to get to
I'm
that.
going to get to
okay,
that.
so
We're
okay,
gonna
all
talk
right,
about that. Yes, yes. And so I will say this too before moving on, because you mentioned it, and I so appreciate you mentioning and recognizing the work of the school counselor and the large caseloads that they have. Carol and I were talking about all of the responsibilities that a counselor has, and still trying to make sure that they meet the needs of each individual student. It's a huge task.
The emotional issues,
Yes.
disciplinary issues, and then
crisis,
so you're going to leave from a crisis issue and then have someone ask you to write a letter of recommendation to college, and you must do that all within the same 30 minutes.
That's right, because it's all deadline driven.
It's all deadline driven.
Yes. And so
let's talk about the Graduation Success Initiative and what it looked like back in 2011, the first year. So we recognized that we had these challenges, and there were, we had our current superintendent who was very disturbed about the varying graduation rates among our schools, and how students at one school might be able to expect maybe 70% of those students were graduating within a 4-year with their 4-year cohort, whereas at another school it might be 60%. And so she was very concerned. And so what we did was to, in response to her vision and in response to her directive, to let's look at this. Let's come up with some things that we can do to support the students. Our student services leadership team, which included Cheryl and some others, identified a GSI counseling team, which included maybe 10, 12 very experienced counselors. And then from there were written guidelines that were established and procedures, which, we went over.
So Cheryl just piled more work on top of you.
More.
Just gave you more work to do.
Yeah, but I do want to just interrupt Carol just for a second, because I was actually in the meeting with the superintendent when she charged us with this effort, when she made it clear, and we are really fortunate that we have a superintendent who has vision and who is proactive and who recognizes the challenges that I mentioned before and said, okay, I recognize that they exist. Now what can we do about them? And let's do something about them.
You know what I'm curious about, because we are focusing on counseling, because when we talk about dropout prevention, the 15 strategies. Why aren't we doing parent involvement? Why aren't we doing mentoring? Why aren't we doing this? And to have her bring the counselors together, how did that come about? I'm real curious about that.
Well, one of the big issues was to make sure that students were graduating with integrity and fidelity. That was one focus.
That's good.
Keep them in school, and then make sure they graduate with fidelity, integrity, and make sure the diploma means something to them, meaning that they've taken courses that will support whatever they decide to do after high school. So that was a focus, or several foci that she had. And so she brought my supervisor at that time, Karen Thomas, and myself in and said, these are some of the issues, and this is what I'd like to see happen. Now, you put a plan together to make it happen. And so that's what we did. And we have been real excited about it since, even though I will have to say it was major work by everybody involved. It was a major undertaking. Carol is going to talk more about that. But when I said before that we did not have the guidelines in place, or there were inconsistent procedures, we put procedures in place, written procedures. We provided PD to the counseling staff so they would know what these procedures are. Communicated to principals and all other stakeholders. One of you, I think, mentioned the buy-in and support that was so important to this even being successful. We had that from the top to the bottom. We had it, and so that made the job that much easier. Of course, we had to create a timeline and a schedule by which all this was to be accomplished, and then it required a lot of collaboration with a lot of departments in our
that's
school
the
district.
huge thing. I mean,
which
unit
is really hard
experience
to
over
do.
here is everybody talking together and
Yes.
working toward the same goal. And it's almost like I'm always visualizing things, like it's this bloodstream going through Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and the bloodstream had cauterized here and here and here and here because they weren't connected, but just opening up so everybody's together. It's that sort of, forgive the metaphor, but it just seems to me that has to be there for all the other good things to happen. And that wasn't happening, and so you found the weak spots or how to do it, and collaboration is everything, isn't it?
Collaboration is everything,
Yeah.
and strategy is next, and execution is next.
That's right. And then the reward.
And the reward.
Right,
We're going to go through all of it here today, aren't we?
right,
Yes, we
yes.
are. Yeah.
But in terms of the execution, this GSI counseling team reviewed over 10,000 transcripts. So we're talking people working in the evenings, they're working on Saturdays, they're working at home, and so it was a full court press.
That was for that integrity and fidelity piece there. Yeah.
And so what we did as we reviewed the transcripts, we were looking for things like duplicate credits. We were looking for, were the quality points awarded accurately? Were the credits, were the course numbers and the course titles correct? And very importantly, were the students scheduled in a way that helped them to move towards success? And if they were having some difficulties, what kinds of plans could we put in place to help support those students? So at the end of we had every transcripts from each school. We're talking about 31 high schools, and so after we finished each school's transcripts, we reviewed them, we completed the template, providing information about every potential graduate, not just those that were in 12th grade. And then a customized report was sent back to each principal so that whatever the issues were, they could be addressed in a timely fashion. So we're talking about really having a sense of urgency about getting it done.
Wow.
But again, at the very beginning, we were talking about just a core group of counselors, and then we'll talk later about how that evolved to to where it is now.
So you had a funnel of like 10,000 transcripts and some kind of way.
10,000 potential graduates that year. In the year 2011, there were 10,000 potential graduates.
Wow. And some kind of way you work all the way down to some type of customized success plan for each student. I mean, that is laudable. I'm not sure. I will learn more about it.
I think a lot of people would say, in such a large district, can't we do this on the computer? How you have personalized everyone. You've looked through every transcript, every young person, and see all the. But can a computer do the same thing?
I don't think so. Not what we were doing, because there was data integrity on several levels. We were looking to ensure that the transcript that follows the student and is the official record of what the student has done, we were making sure that that was accurate. It's so easy to have mistakes on that, but those mistakes could mean that a student doesn't graduate if it's inaccurate. Or it could mean that the student doesn't get accepted into the college to which he or she is applying, if there is a major. So there are a lot of implications. So we were looking at data integrity on a lot of levels, and a computer system, I don't believe that I'm aware of, can really do that. It does not replace the eye, the knowledgeable eye, looking at this document to make sure it is accurate.
And this document representing a human being instead of numbers.
Absolutely.
That's
the
a
computer
good point.
itself can have challenges. I've certainly worked in environments where it's like, what happened to the computer system?
Exactly.
And so today, that same GSI process is in place, but to a different degree. I think what has happened over the years is that all of the high school counselors have become a part of have become the GSI counselors. And so it really has become a counselor's management tool. For example, in my high school, where we have over 1,800 students and approximately 450 potential graduates, my principal might come in any day and say, so what's going on with the seniors? Do we have any students that need credit recovery? What courses do they need credit recovery in? Do we have students that have new coursework that have not been able to be scheduled? Where are the students? How are the chemistry students doing? How many chemistry students are potential graduates? Whatever we're able to provide real-time information to the people who need to have that information to make plans to help our students succeed. So it really is a wonderful management tool. And so whereas before it started out with 10 or 12 people checking records and then sending a report back to the schools, now the schools are checking, the counselors at the schools are checking their own, they're partnering with another school, we exchange each other. So we really working with our colleagues at other high schools, we pair up and exchange records. Not only that, we sometimes put the template on the Google Docs. So sometimes we share it out with teachers who need to know which students need which classes to graduate. Do they really need this art class to graduate, or is it just an elective for them? It's just been a wonderful tool. And I was talking with Cheryl on the way up, and I said, I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know how I ever did it without this tool. Really adequately managing, because there are so many other things on my plate that I'm juggling. And so then this very big, important piece of my job, which is making sure that my seniors get out and that they're able to move toward their high school aspirations and plans. Yes.
Right.
So I think, we do have a lot of resources on the website. This wonderful tool as a sample is going to be up there, I believe.
Yes, we are going to provide a copy of the template that can be used. We're actually going to also provide a detailed PowerPoint that probably will be very helpful in understanding
Oh, wow.
just more about how the procedure evolved and different aspects of it. And then just a couple of tools that counselors use in their work. We will include those as well. Other districts may have those, but just an example of what we use so that they can see.
I know we've talked a lot about the process so far, but I don't know if we've actually let the audience know just how far you came from 2010. So I thought it would be, hopefully it won't steal your thunder, but I think it's really, really powerful to say how impactful this program was. So, yeah.
With regard to the graduation rate?
Yes, the graduation rate.
Could it be about that?
Yeah, it could be about the graduation rate. It's like,
we started out let me just say it this way. Our graduation rate now is 88.3, okay? In 2010, it was 68.9. We had 18 plus points.
Wow.
Yes, that is awesome and laudable, clappable. I just made up that word.
I've not heard of anything so on this show. That is fantastic.
So that's awesome.
And I think that there are a number of things that are responsible for that. I'm happy that the GSI is a part of that, and I believe a significant part, but there are other aspects as well.
See, just having said that, I can feel more people listening now. It's sort of like, hey, wait a minute. So,
and one is that we offer more credit recovery options for students. So through the GSI, we're able to identify the needs. And then also, beside that is we have the offerings to support students who may need it. And so that has increased. We've provided, I think, more deliberate training to our counseling staff so that they are more knowledgeable. We have a standardized procedure in place. And so let me say just how significant that is. Everyone talks the same language. From the superintendent to the learning community superintendents, the principals, counselor, everyone knows GSI. They know what it is. They know what to look for on that report. And before that wasn't the case. A principal may have had to go to a counselor and say, tell me where the student stands, and then that counselor will pull out their document, which might be different from the counselor next door. So, but now we're talking the same language.
So you talked earlier about inconsistencies that you found when you did the initial kind of, I guess, research into the issue. So GSI actually unifies the process and standardized. That's awesome.
Which
really awesome.
I think is
it gives people that common language.
That's right. And for a district our size, that is needed. It's a necessary
a large urban school district.
I mean, you talk about students falling through the cracks, and you're catching them.
That's exactly.
Catching them in a unified way. Is the counseling element then the major change in these last 5 years? That's dramatic.
It is. It is very dramatic.
Increasing graduation rate. Is that the major change of changing that whole system and finding who these kids are and providing the actual things that they need, whether it's courses or
I think it's hugely significant. I think another thing that has happened too is we have really focused on strategic scheduling of our students. And so when I think about some of the populations like the exceptional children, and I think about our ELL students, we have
which are many with 175 different.
So we have looked at really focusing on looking at those populations too, and not just with counseling. Counselors have been involved in all aspects of it, but not solely counselors, which is a good thing. But we've looked at, I think, just focusing on some of those areas, and I think that's been significant as well because our subgroups, the graduation rate for our subgroups has increased significantly too.
And I would just like to add that, it has been counselors, but I think the GSI has also fueled a unified effort throughout our district, because at the beginning, based on the GSI, when counselors are able to identify students that are missing, they're listed but they're not there. We've had people from the district level down. There may be a day or several days that we're out at going to the homes looking for students. Not just counselors, not just social workers, but everybody. And I think because one of the things that our superintendent pointed out was because our graduation rate has gone from 85% to 88%. That means
1 year.
In
1 year.
In 1 year, that means that 288 more students graduated.
Yes.
So it's not just that we realize it's not just about the numbers. These are lives. These are students' lives.
I always like looking at dropout statistics by that number rather than percentages, because percentages, but when you talk about that many lives in 1 year,
In 1 year.
Awesome.
Now, you finding, we talk about collaboration and communication, that the counselors and the teachers, the instructional staff, are communicating more.
Absolutely.
See, that's the interesting thing. When I talk about my silly blood thing, but there's things that just reach out all over the body. Was that silly? Thank you. It's old friends before. But really, it's stimulated, and it's been a catalyst for communication that may not have existed before.
Absolutely.
I think you're right. Absolutely. That's what we're saying.
Catalyst is a really great
I mean,
word.
and
That's a
I want,
good word.
oh yeah,
That was
I
great.
like
That was good.
Three
I like
syllables.
that.
3 syllables. I can do it. I can do it on demand. So was that something that was not expected, and in the early vision?
I can tell you, speaking for me, I wasn't sure what to expect. I will be honest with you. I thought certainly we needed to address the challenges, and I saw the need for that, and we put this process in place. I did not foresee, maybe our superintendent did, I did not foresee that it would have the impact that it did, and that it would accomplish so many things, like the catalyst for more communication, and how the counselors are able to use it to talk to teachers in the building and say, look, this student needs this course to graduate. The course that you're teaching, this student needs this course. Keep me apprised. Are they at risk for failing? Are they doing fine? Or do I need to take them? Can I take them off my radar, or what?
Yeah.
And so that dialogue is happening.
That's terrific.
Wow.
And I think another piece too, and because I think it's so important to mention all of the components that I think have contributed to this. And one is accountability. Our accountability department, which is. They're wonderful.
That's the
Second to none.
the number crunchers.
Second to none. That's the phrase.
Yeah, they've done a great job,
Yeah.
and helping with, collaborating with the state on the information that comes in about these students that we mentioned before who are on our list, but that they help run that kind of interference for us. And so when I mentioned that all departments are engaged, I mean all departments. I can't think of one that is not.
I think that is most powerful and fascinating. I kind of want you to talk a little bit more about that, because with large urban school districts, it's hard to get everybody on the same page and one accord. And as you know, as educators for decades, really, that we are not short of new programs and new ideas. In fact, we get probably 3 a year, and sometimes people have new program fatigue. So one of the things I've heard is that even when you have a great strategy, they told me at one of the schools I went to, culture eats strategy for lunch. So sometimes the culture of an environment or the culture of an organization would not support that. So could you talk a little bit more about how you get people on one accord to move toward this graduation success initiative, or how all of that happens? Because I can see leaders and other folks saying, well, that's not going to work here because So how do you tell them?
You can't argue with success.
Yeah. And success begets success.
Yes.
Oh, y'all better say it. That's all right.
So I think the first year, of course, when you have a group of 12 counselors converging on your school, and I want to see your records, and let's, that was probably not the warmest feeling for some.
It's not a welcome mat for that, right?
It was not.
So,
and so it was, the first year was probably the toughest year. But at the end of the year, when the schools saw the graduation rate go up, when they realized that, oh, but we caught this, and we were able to make changes to this or to do, for this group of students, and at the end of the year, they were so proud that their graduation rate went up, and students that may not have been expected to graduate with their cohort did, then people get more excited. They want to buy in. And so it grew, and then we started using the Google Docs and sharing information so the teachers feel involved. And as Cheryl was saying, all of the departments are, I think in all the years that I've been with CMS, since we've had GSI, I see more communication, direct communication sometimes between people way uptown and the counseling team. They're calling, they're emailing back and forth, and counselors feel like they can that they can call whomever they need to get something, to get whatever information they need to help with this effort in helping our students graduate on time.
And so, and Carol and I were talking about this too, that we believe and have recognized that there's just a paradigm shift, that there has been a shift in thinking. I think everyone wants information to be accurate, and we all take pride in our district. We take pride in the work that we do. One thing that I think the GSI did was it made it very apparent that we had some work to do. It brought things to the forefront. So whereas principals may not have been as aware before, they were made aware. And of course, they want things to be right. And so it just...
You showed them the data.
Showed them the data.
And it may not have
and then
been
what
that,
needed to happen to address it. And so... but we think that there was just a paradigm shift, and I can't completely explain why that happened, but it happened in such a great way that everyone is just working together to try to make sure that our students are successful and we keep moving in the right direction.
And it was not about a gotcha. It was really about, will you check mine? I'm going to check yours. Are you finished? Did you find anything?
Right.
And so counselors from one school are working with counselors from another school, and we're checking back and forth, and people are calling, and it's just
I've
really
always
been.
said sometimes when you use data and you show people data, sometimes, like you said, as a gotcha, I said, sometimes it's a hammer, sometimes it's a flashlight, right? So the data can show you which way to go and what to pick up and look under, so to speak. And so it sounds like you all use the data as a flashlight, rather.
And another thing that came out of it too, that again, going back to the work of counselors, we've talked about that.
Yay, counselors! I just had to do this.
We realized that that what we were trying to accomplish with this GSI needed to be done separately. There needed to be dedicated time away from the school to get this done, because if the counselors are trying to do this while they're at the school and constantly being interrupted, it doesn't work. And so there was a recognition, I believe, district-wide, that we need to get these counselors out of the school where they can focus on this and get it done, because trying to accomplish it as one of their many other responsibilities during the school just wasn't conducive to success.
This is where some thoughts were kind of circulating in my head about time, and is this added on, and how does this change your workload as a counselor, which is so enormous? It seems like such a huge task to go through all these transcripts and to make these discoveries and communicate and collaborate and do all that, plus doing the other things that you're expected to do. How does that, Carol, you could maybe answer this, how does this break down in your life each week?
Well, the wonderful thing is that the district did provide extended time for counselors to work in the summer. So immediately at the end of one school year, we're beginning to look at next year's potential graduates. So that first due date for the initial GSI is due almost maybe
it's in October.
It's in October, right after school opens, okay? And so of course, it's a fluid document. So as as things change with students, maybe if they complete a course online or if they complete a credit recovery course, then it's updated. And so again, there's another due date in February 2nd, I believe. So there's ongoing review for students, and as I said, it's a live document. It's shared out. There's accountability. It's expected that it's going to be done by October. It's going to be done again by February. It's expected at the school level. It's expected at the district level and beyond. I mean, all the way from Cheryl, all the way to Superintendent Clark.
Yes.
And the numbers that you look at, the number of transcripts, I'm just still trying to get my head wrapped around this task.
10,000.
And 10,000, and does each counselor have the same number, even though you might be at the 1,800, you said you had 1,800 students in your school, but there's another school that has over 3,000.
Right.
So, I mean, the counselor ratio may be there, but what's the story with that? How many?
We have 1,800 students in our school. Now, the first year we had 10,000 students that we looked at as a big group. You know, there were 10 or 12 of us, but it has evolved so that the GSI is completed at the school level. So if I have, and counselors still have sometimes 400 students on a caseload, but that caseload may have 120, 25 seniors, and so typically, you know, that's the caseload for seniors. So you're going to do that with primary focus on, you know, with the seniors, but not only that, the 9th grade counselors are expected to begin the checklist and start working toward the GSI, the 10th grade. You know, so we're doing it for every single student, so we shouldn't get to the senior year, but there is a time commitment. It is it's a big task, and as Cheryl said, we need to have time to focus on it to do it adequately.
So it seems to me that, you know, that you may be putting this time in, but you're not as frustrated as you used to be with what you were doing. And that
Because it's also a tool. Because it's also a tool. It's not just a task, but it's a tool
to help
One
you
of
guys.
the first things I do when I get to work every day is I open up my GSI. And I've added columns to the template that I use that I don't have to necessarily report back to Cheryl. When I get ready to report it back to Cheryl, there are going to be some columns that I'm going to take off because she doesn't need it. But as I'm tracking, I make notes about my students when I'm meeting with them. There may be whether or not they've completed their CPR requirement, just whatever. I will have columns that I use. It really helps me to manage my caseload.
Right. I was so happy to hear you talk about 9th grade. 9th grade focus as well, because the research, you know, here at the center would suggest that, you know, the 9th grade being the most really critical year. I think, you know, the mass exodus happens between the 8th and the 9th grade and 9th and 10th grade. So really focusing on 9th grade success will help you down the line, so to speak. So I was really happy to hear about that. Not just 12th graders, but every stage.
Absolutely. And so we want to track them. We want to make sure when students, you know, the whole graduation rate is based on the student's 9th grade entry year. So that's why sometimes
and staying with your cohort.
And staying with your cohort. So we have to be concerned about students in 9th grade and whether or not they're moving to 10th grade and whether the 10th graders are moving up. You can't wait until they're going into the senior year. And so, but this process, I think, just helps us to remain focused on what, you know, beginning with the end in mind.
Oh,
you know,
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know that one.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I think you guys are doing some really awesome stuff, and I'm so happy that, you know, other people will be able to kind of take a glimpse at it and share in it, and I just think it's going to have a ripple effect, I hope.
I hope so too. And I mean, I think, you know, we talked about little towns where everybody knows everybody, but there's a lot of towns in between.
That's true.
The big and the little teeny tiny, and there are a lot of students who are just for various reasons, that whole, you know, idea about slipping through the cracks because you don't misbehave, you don't do all those usual things, that's not showing up, but all of a sudden it's, you know, there's a problem, and they're gone, and so you can catch them early anywhere. So I think, you know, there's a message to our big school urban
Yeah.
districts,
I
but
think
Mid-sized
all,
schools, yeah.
all
I think
school
you make a
districts.
good point, because having a standardized procedure
Yeah.
Right.
is helpful regardless of the size.
Right. Right.
Regardless of the size,
Right.
it is helpful.
And fidelity to
Yeah.
the standardized
Yes.
procedure.
Yeah.
So this
It's
we have brought
Yes.
together a program for all of y'all, all
Right.
y'all out there.
All y'all.
Yes, not
Yeah,
just
right.
your big city school district. Everybody can, and to have this tool, I'm excited about that, and we can share this
Yeah, yeah,
on the
this is
web,
good
and
stuff.
and
guys
people
are
can
onto
also, I think you're probably available for people to talk to. Is that correct? I mean,
Certainly,
we have the
absolutely.
Twitter and the discussion board.
You're not going to keep it all to yourself?
No.
Okay,
That's why
okay.
they're here.
Oh, okay,
That's why they're
yeah,
here.
that's right,
We're in
that's
sharing
right.
In
mode
fact, we're
here.
going to talk about this at the conference in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, wow.
Well,
so
now
we'll
this
see you
is something
there.
we
we
need
are.
to. This is just next month.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
You can meet these five. You both going to be there?
I won't be there,
You're
but
I know what you'll be doing.
I'll be, yes.
I think I know what you're going to be doing. But that's so
Right.
great, Cheryl, that you can be there and share this with that
That's-
population, and people can come to Myrtle Beach and
Right.
sit down and talk with you. Help me get
Yes.
started.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
very
yeah.
exciting.
You can
Yeah.
tell them how to unify and all of that. I think that's great.
So would you think that, sometimes things bubble up and sometimes things trickle down? This is a trickle down. I mean, it came from your superintendent. And so do you see that there's a real need to address this topic to superintendents who can provide that support you knew you had? Do you think that seems like that was a key feature
I
that
think
you
that would be
mentioned?
very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually did share information. I believe it was with all of the chief academic officers from surrounding districts. We did present information about GSI to them, and they were very impressed and
Yeah.
receptive to
Yeah.
it. So I think superintendents, I think all of leadership would benefit from hearing about it.
Right, right, right. I think everyone certainly would be interested in improving their graduation rates, and they
Absolutely.
clearly
Well, certainly
have
to that
student
degree.
gain.
And
Right,
yeah,
you're
I
right.
mean, you're finding that impressive. Well, that is great.
Yeah, that's
Did you
awesome.
have any final thoughts before we close things down today?
Well, I think that Carol made the point that I think is so significant, and that is, as we talk about the processes that we use, as we talk about the increasing graduation rate, as we talk about all this, we are talking about students.
Right.
We're talking about students' lives. We're talking about how they are impacted. They are looking to us to help them. Their parents are looking to us to help them. And so the fact that we're able to put things in place, to whether it's a tool, whether it's recovery courses, whatever it is that we can help our students, that's what we're here to do. And so just when we think about the fact that from 1 year, from 2014 to 2015, 288 additional
Yeah.
students
Right,
graduated.
right,
Who would not have?
Who would not have?
right, right. And we all know the importance of a high school diploma.
Yeah.
We all understand that.
Yeah.
Can't do much without it. So we're empowering lives here.
Empowering
And
lives.
the work that you're doing is integral to that. And probably the students don't really know, but but
That's okay.
it's okay. It's okay.
That's
Everything that went into that.
That's okay.
Well, this is just wonderful to have this opportunity to share this. And I want to thank you both for coming today to be with us. I mean, you drove down from Charlotte, and
It's
that's
wonderful.
commitment.
Thank you
It's
for
a lovely
having
to
us.
come to Clemson, but it's
Thank
really
you for
lovely to have
having
you
us.
here.
Thank you.
It makes it special. And you, my friend,
Yes,
it's super wonderful. You've got to come back.
I will.
You will.
I will.
We're going to have her
to
back
Charlotte.
again.
I'm going to come to Charlotte.
I think we all
Let's
need
do
to go
the
to
on the
Charlotte.
ground stuff.
I think
See
we
if you
need to.
really do it.
Let's shadow Carol for the
I'd
day.
That's
love
great.
to have you.
That
I
would be.
will.
That would be.
I
It's
think
one
I
of those
will.
things that you don't do the same thing every day, do you?
Right,
No,
right.
That's my
no,
favorite kind of job.
Never a dull moment.
Wow. Well, you know I'm a research fellow, so that's like action research. So
Did
I'm
I
gonna do that
not
on the
mention you
ground.
were a research
Oh, that's
fellow?
fine. I think you did. It's okay.
In case I didn't mention it, Dr. Erman Hervey is one of the NWPC research fellows. He's just so many things. That's the thing.
no.
I don't think I did, but
Oh,
and
it's
he's
okay.
ready to do some research. So
Yeah.
expect a call. Expect a call.
Definitely.
Well, thanks
Thank you.
everyone. And Solutions returns every month on the second Tuesday at 3:30, and then is archived forever and ever and ever. So this resource, the program, and all the resources that you provide on the website are going to be there to help people all across this country. So That's what we're looking for. And next month, we're going to do something exciting again. They haven't told me what we're doing next month. So
But it's going to be
I
exciting
know, it's
and
like
it's
a
going to be
surprise.
impactful.
It will
Yes.
be. It always
Yes.
is. So until February, I'm just going to say goodbye now to everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Solutions to the Dropout Crisis, and we'll see you next time.